We found that I was not dealing with the stressors of life well enough. I'm giving all my faith in you, God, on this one.
I was going to say, I think if you have a local channel pop up on Netflix, I think the viewership would skyrocket there.
So when I get to meet with a business owner, I'm really excited, but it does come with stress.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're out there and a business owner, rates are going up, go off of what you're good at, and the rest will kind of follow in.
Dude, Mike Collier. Welcome back.
Thanks, man. It's been a while.
I know.
At least as far as my memory is concerned, it feels like a while.
Dude, I'm so happy that you're back over here. Last time you came, we had such a great conversation, and I was looking for an excuse to have you back, and there's some big changes that have happened in your life.
Huge changes. Yeah. I mean, 3 months ago, I left KGRH. I'd been the chief meteorologist there for 7 years. Had a wonderful time there, but TV industry is rapidly declining as far as viewership is concerned. I was doing Facebook Lives every night, and at times I was reaching more people than I could on the television. I'm thinking, why can't I be doing this at home under my hours, under my kind of ideas? And I started thinking, I might need a better family life balance. So the kids are all in sports right now. I was missing all the sporting activities during the weekdays. Severe weather would take me away from games or important events. I mean, you can even ask my wife. We had to leave the mall one time. We were out shopping at the mall. I was like, I got to go. I had to take the wife and kids, rush them home, and rush to work. So it was dictating my life. It was dictating my personal life. And I just was like, you know what? I need to change things in my life. I've been there in that business 23 years. Life is short, so I was like, I'm going to take grasp of it, and made that significant change. And I've been very lucky and very blessed since then.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have heard your name or seen your face, but for those who haven't. Used to be a meteorologist on Channel 2, and you transitioned over now to having your own app, MCWX.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you ended up going to work for a bank, doing some insurance stuff.
Right.
So you definitely got your hands full.
Yeah.
But one out of all of that, you're one of the few people that I look at, and you have like all these titles and all these things that you do, but I also see you just as a husband, a father, and a guy of faith. And dude, I appreciate that a lot. So, man, I'm happy to have you back on and just kind of talk a little bit about what the transition has been looking like. Yeah. And I don't think you need any more help on any downloads or anything. You hit 1 million downloads in how long?
So to the technical, we've had 1 million views on the app in 3 months.
Okay,
that's 30,000 downloads on the app in just the 3 months.
That's huge, dude.
I mean, I give all glory to God. I always say that. All the glory goes to God.
Yeah.
God has just blessed me 1,000-fold. I mean, it's just amazing what He's been able to do by putting my trust in Him. I remember having a friend, it doesn't come without stress. Let's just put it that way. The transition that I've been working in TV since 19 years old. That's all I ever knew.
19 years old.
19. That's what as a 6-year-old, I knew I wanted to work in TV weather. So
I remember you telling me that last time. Yeah. And then I know that we said welcome back, but he's been on before. He's told us this whole story. He might not remember it, but maybe he'll go back and listen to it and be like, okay, now this is back to me.
I will.
But yeah, you told me the whole story, and it was awesome to really see, like, because you hear people like little kids, like I'm sure maybe your kids right now are like, I want to be, something, and then it's like, the stats on that is very, very low. And then yours, you're like 19, you're on TV.
Yeah.
That's a long time, dude.
I'm a determined individual. When I get my mind to set to something, just watch out. I'll most likely achieve that. With God's grace. I give all of that glory to God. But I'll tell you, it was stressful. Knowing those 23 years in the business, that's all I knew. And I'm going into insurance, and I knew nothing at the time. I went and got my license. So I had a little basis, but completely new, 2 years old, starting from scratch again. And then I've got the app that's coming out. I'm like, okay, 1, can I make it insurance? And 2, can I continue my weather brand? And while in my personal life, that was huge and it weighed on me. But my close friend John, he told me, Mike, God pressed upon your heart to make this change. Trust in him. This is his path for you. Lean on that, and he will take care of you. And I swear to God, like, it truly is been amazing, and he really has. The app has done incredibly well. The insurance business has gone really well. In addition to that, just in the first 3 months, now, are there bumps in the road? Yes, absolutely. Are there going to be more stressful things coming my way? Life is not easy. We are well aware of that, but putting my faith in God has really paid multiple dividends.
Have you like were you raised Christian? Like, have you always been a Christian?
Yeah.
Or like, when did your faith really come into play?
So, I grew up a Catholic church.
Okay.
So I went to
So did I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Went to Catholic schools growing up. So faith was always around me. So I give all the credit in the world to the Catholic schools who really helped me get a good basis, good foundation, learn about the Bible, learn about God and Jesus and what he did for us. And so I always had that surrounded, had that knowledge. I don't think I really applied it until, I know this sounds really, I've always had it in me, but really it came to true fruition in my life to really grasp it even further was probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
So that's really when I felt God calling me to really lead more of a life towards Christ.
Was there any like specific thing that happened? Or?
But yeah, there was. I used to have a gambling problem.
Oh, wow.
A really bad gambling problem.
Yeah.
I don't really talk about that a lot, so I sometimes wonder if I even should. But someone told me, it was like, without any tests in life, there is no testimony. Yeah,
I mean, people look at you, you talk about your faith a lot, they see you doing great and everything, and like no one would ever guess that. But I think, it's funny, I went to this mastermind in 2022 of what I thought it was to become a better communicator. And it was, I became a better communicator from that, but I didn't realize how like deep you had to like dig in.
Yeah.
And man, to say that I've become more vulnerable after that mastermind class that I went to is an understatement. And it's funny though, because people look at you, look at me, look at everybody, and they frame what they want to frame. Sure. Right. Yeah. Like, I remember after I told my story, people were like, wow, like, we thought you came from like a wealthy family, like everything completely wrong.
Right.
Right. And then, but what that did is that actually drew all those 9 other people that were there so much closer to me. The people that I currently work with in my office, outside of my office, that like I've gotten vulnerable with, it's like it takes that credibility and that relationship to the next level. So it's crazy because it's like I'm even shocked to you hearing saying that, but it kind of makes you like, wow, he's human.
Yeah,
people like humans.
Yeah, and honestly, just admitting that out loud too. I've mentioned it before at times, but I don't talk about it a whole lot because I still feel like the judging part. A lot of people are like, oh, you label him as one person, that's who he always is, and that's not necessarily the truth. When it was 5-6 years ago, I'm not one of those who keeps track how long exactly it was ago, but I remember it was before Christmas, and the debt had been piling just an incredible amount, and it was just drowning in it, and I didn't know what to do in life. I really was at the deepest part of despair in life and just could not figure it out. And I finally just went to my wife. I'm like, I have this problem. She knew, but kind of
didn't know.
Yeah. Didn't know the extent of it. And so I was like, I need help. And so we found a really great Christian counselor. As a matter of fact, I just met with him yesterday. His name's Anthony, and he has been absolutely incredible. He has helped me kind of transform my whole life around. And we found that I was not dealing with the stressors of life well enough. And that was one way to deal with it, was just to get my mind off of it. And, finding healthy coping mechanisms to life and finding just a healthier overall mental aspect really was able to change things around. And not only that, were we able to change my mind and body around, but also at the same time, I told God, I was like, I'm giving you all this money, financial problem. I'm going to trust in you, because I didn't You know, I was trusting myself and trying to do all this on my own. It didn't work out. It was the wrong way. I'm giving all my faith in you, God, on this one. And I won't buy even a lot of dollar scratch of, I won't do anything that involves gambling of any cent. I just give it all to God. And I'm not trying to be the optimistic guy over here and like life is wonderful, you know. Yeah. But truthfully, financially, since that time, complete 180, or completely out of debt now. We have no credit card debts. No, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. We use our credit card now to get the cash back. Yeah. So we pay off each month, get the cash back. You know, 5 years ago, that would have been like, do I have $2 on my available balance to even, you know, make the transaction? Wow. So again, you don't have your testimony without your test in life. And that was mine. And I just thank God every day that I had an opportunity to turn that around.
Man, and I literally, I don't know if you've ever heard of Darren Hardy, but I listen to him every day. He has a thing called Darren Daily, and the Darren Daily this morning was a story about Mickey Mantle. I'm not a big baseball guy.
Oklahoma guy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he tells the story that calls his dad. He's like, 18, 19, however, whenever he was when he got in, and he says, "Hey, Dad, I don't know if I can do this." And his dad's like, "I'll be there." And so he drove from Oklahoma to Kansas City, Missouri, and on the drive there, he was like trying to figure out what to say, and he gets there and knocks on the hotel room, and he just starts packing his clothes, and Mickey's like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "We're going back home." He goes, "You can't do this." He goes, he's like, I didn't think I raised a coward, but I guess I did, which it was kind of like now me having a son, and like that sounds, but times change, right? To say the least, like the last 10 years. Yeah. And then he talks about how at that point he was like, no, he's like, I'm not a coward. He's like, I'm going to do this. And I mean, little did we know, like that was his story. Like, and again, people hear of Mickey Mantle, they don't think of anything like any challenges in life. Like, how lucky did that guy have it? He just got to go play baseball and be a wealthy dude and all this stuff. And but Darren talked about it because he said you have to share those moments in order to be able to help other people, because so many people see even friends, like, there's some friends that like I have that I'm like, they really seem like they have no problems, right? But it's like, we're all human. So it's like, but nobody ever wants to talk about those problems.
Especially with social media this day, it's all the good stuff, the highlight reels,
Which, to mention that, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I am curious on because, so you have a big social media presence. I started my personal brand like 2.5 years ago, and
it's done amazingly. Awesome.
It took, it was something I was not expecting. But one of the things that I get asked a lot is like, everybody has excuses for everything, like, right? Like every agent, like 87% of my business is realtor partners. Okay. And then they all are like, I need to do social media. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, then just do it. Yeah. It's like, well, I don't look good on camera. I don't know what to say. Whatever excuse. One of those excuses is, what if I say the wrong thing and then like I get like those trolls or like those haters, right? Yeah. And then I'm bringing this up because you just posted something, and I actually, funny enough, was on a story for Channel 2 about this new law that's changing. And then that also got some, some not great comments and stuff. So how do you deal with that? And if you want to talk about that post that you made, because everybody has them. But I don't think that, very many people, like one of the things that I've heard Joe Rogan say is that he's like, I don't ever look at the comments. And then, so for me, it's like, I'll look at them, but I won't go back and look at them again. Okay. So, but I'm curious on how you cope with it.
Listen, I went through that darkest despair in my life, and I was not in a good place in this world, so I feel like maybe...
You're talking about like 6 years ago?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I can empathize and relate a little more that each person is going through something. Anthony, my counselor, is very big on abundant life, and God gave us abundant life, but also the ability means going up and down, good and bad, and that's just life. Yeah. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, but it's all part about the abundant life. So when I see someone reach out and lash out, I just really try to be empathetic to them. They're going through something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this, I mean, they're mad about this, but really, what are they mad about? What's going on in their life?
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
It's just not that. So to me, I just look at it, I actually feel, I feel bad for that person, what they're going through. So my response is, hey, let me show you love, because you're obviously missing that. And that's an opportunity to do that, to turn those tables around. And maybe they're not getting the attention or the mind of love from someone else. And, maybe it's like, man, okay, this guy is actually, does want to show some care towards me. Maybe I can show that towards someone else as well. So just trying to be the positive influence when I see that come out. That's how I kind of look at things.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, that people also, it's hard for people to do. Like, so we talk about how, people look at you and then they would never they would never think, this dude's like a perfect guy, right?
Yeah.
And then they but they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And then we talk about like, okay, well, maybe he's just like that when everything's going his way, right? You hear of people that, it's easy to say thank you to somebody whenever they open the door for you. But what about whenever they slam the door in your face?
Right.
And then so man, it's so good to hear you say that, just because like I've never even looked at it like that. Like I literally just try to ignore it out of sight, out of mind type of thing. But that's when you can truly show your faith, is when you're going through, like when things aren't going your way. That's whenever you can really shine and really show others like the true power of love.
Yeah, I think we as a nation just become so shunning of this is my way or the highway, and we're so divisive, and we need to come together. We need to be more empathetic or sympathetic or more loving towards each other. That's just my personal view. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
Because they'll eye for an eye,
a tooth for a tooth. Yeah.
Tooth for a tooth. Well, an eye for an eye, you've got a room full of blind men. So we're just bringing all of us down. So my idea is, let's just show a little love. Why not? It's, that's what Jesus really came here for us, is because out of love. And why can't we be more like that? Instead of, oh, my way is the right way and you are the worst. I hate your idea. You're done. Yeah, you can have different opinions, but let's love that person, and maybe then we'll start to find some common ground.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. What in an average week, how many hours were you working at the station?
At TV, I was generally, 40, 45, depending on weather. Severe springs could be 50, 60.
So I was going to say, yeah, average. And then like in the tornado season here in Oklahoma, like, so 50 to 60 hours or.
Yeah. But also that, I was still doing social media on the side too. So, it was, while I wasn't at work,
you were like still working.
Cause
but not really getting paid for it too. Right. Or I'm sure like whatever, Facebook or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. But not like you're doing it now, like from home type of stuff.
Exactly. It wasn't I wasn't getting paid direct. The station was paying me, but
Yeah. So, the question I had for you was, last time we talked a little bit about like kind of where the like local TV or national even TV was going and everything. And so my question to you is like, what are those, like, how many people are they even reaching right now compared to like you doing your, like, not just you, but just anybody? Like, I'm just curious, because I don't think anybody has any idea.
Yeah. And look, I love the people that are there and that I worked with. So I'm not,
and I'm just saying, overall, not just that station, because I'm sure I don't think that the numbers
in general. I have a friend that's the GM of another station here in Tulsa, and I love her dearly, and I want her to do incredibly well. She's climbing up a tall mountain at a station that she attained after some big changes occurred. So she's on the, but we'll put that aside. Just say, listen, the viewership is pretty low. The average age is much higher than it's ever been. So we do see a lot of the older community watching the local news. But we're talking about on a general newscast, a total of all stations combined, probably about 15 to 25,000 people watching.
For all of them. So what is that per?
On a normal, 3,000 to 4,000 watching per station.
A day?
Yeah, during a newscast.
During a newscast.
Yeah.
And then you're doing you specifically are doing these and you're reaching 10K, 20K, 100K, whatever.
Sometimes, we're up to almost 200,000.
And what you do, and like the numbers numbers are different for everything, right?
Sure.
So like you can't compare, like if you have a podcast and I do short form content, we can't really compare those numbers because like it's like long form compared to short form because like some of the videos that I've done have reached like millions of people, but it's like it's a short clip and that's it. To where like what you're doing and the people you're reaching is you're doing like a live for how long are those lives normally
about
for?
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's still pretty long time for people to give you their attention.
Exactly. And we do look at like minute long views, that's what I'm trying to achieve to keep them longer. And that has gone really well. And, and that's still in the thousands of watching. When the deal is, the reality is that this phone is in front of everybody's eyes all the time. TV, I don't even watch TV. I mean,
Well, I told you I was on the segment the other day and I had probably, I don't know, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 people like text me.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, and most of these people were actually at a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Because some of them sent me pictures.
Yeah.
But in my head, if you would have told me like, who do you think is going to watch this? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's cool that you're on the news, right? Whatever. But
I don't know if that's cool,
but I mean, but it's crazy. Like that's kind of, I mean, when's the last time that, I mean, that let's go back to like 2000 and even 16. That was 8 years ago. What were those numbers looking like back then?
They were much higher. Probably about 20, 30,000 people watching a newscast. Per newscast. I mean,
when did that take a turn?
Really the modernization of the Apple phone, and social media taking off, that kind of really pushed things in a different direction. We go back to 2001. I remember I was on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock. That was our most watched newscast. And we had
Sunday night.
Yeah. At 10 o'clock for some reason.
That's crazy.
We were the #1 ABC station in America for viewership.
Are you serious?
Yeah. In 2001. So I had probably about 300, 400, maybe 500,000 people watching that newscast. I was nervous and I was young. And now we would all beg to have that type of viewership on a television station,
So walk me through, as you're like talking to the camera, like, are you seeing how many people kind of like in a live or like, how did you?
It would print out the next day. We get ratings each day on
So how were you nervous like you were just nervous because you knew like this.
I knew that many people were going to be watching, I knew
on Sunday
Sunday night at 10 was back in the day. There was like, the Regis show or whatever show it was, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They had like hour-long specials. And I don't know, there was something on Sunday night. Private Practice was really big, but whatever.
Yeah.
Some big shows, but that's all they had to watch was pretty much 4 channels. And they didn't have Apple TV. There wasn't, YouTube really back then.
Yeah.
There was just not much to watch. So everybody watched the newscast.
Man, and we're talking about local, but I was listening to a podcast of you might know this guy's last name's Rupert something, the guy that owns Fox News.
Oh yeah, Rupert Murdoch.
That's his name. Yeah, and he were talking. I mean, he's like 87 or 93 years old, something like that. He's old.
Yeah,
and they were talking about pretty much like who is going to take over whenever he's gone, and they were talking about how they didn't talk numbers, but they said like this, Fox has been a huge like staple in everybody's life, especially like Republican people and everything. But whenever, and then they talked a little bit about like the whole Trump thing the last time whenever he didn't get reelected, and then they were like, are we gonna? Because there's so many conspiracy theories and like everything, right?
Yeah,
like did Trump really get shot? Like it's like, wait, are you like? It's crazy. Like, and then so they pretty much were like, we have to go and feed some of these conspiracy theories to be able to get viewers to watch.
I know.
And then they stopped doing that. Their viewership dropped. And then the guy that was talking about in the podcast, he talked about how he's like, well, people have way more options now. They have other stations that are kind of like for Republican people, they have social media, YouTube, they have all kinds of stuff to where it's like, that's kind of why he's kind of worried of like which one of my 3 kids is going to take it over. And so you might not have numbers, but like, what would you say, like 2016, like a Fox, CNN, to compare to like now, like percentage wise, let's say, how much has that decreased, do you think?
Oh, probably 60, 70%.
60, 70, and we're talking millions. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Huge amount of viewership declined. Yeah. And they all get it on the app, or they can, if we're strictly just talking about watching on television, streaming's different though. So they, that's still pretty good for them and pretty high for them. But as far as like sitting down, watching the Fox channels, Fox News or whatever on TV is down probably that much.
So they separate those numbers there.
Yeah.
And so where do you see it going? Like, let's say we're sitting here, to 2024.
Yeah.
It's 2034. We're 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, is there even news? Like, what?
Well, I like to think that I'm a pioneer in this industry. There's only one or maybe 2 other people that are doing what I'm doing right now, and that is solo, taking our what we've worked up, our brand recognition, and drive into our own entity on digital only. So I can see that happening further. There's a guy in Tennessee that I kind of emulate a little bit because he's done this for a couple of years. He has his own studio. He's got his own weather studio. He has 4 meteorologists on hire, and it's all through the app on Roku and Apple TV. So we're going to start seeing people gravitate to people who they trust and want to follow and get their information from, and it'll be very fragmented. So we're already seeing that fragmentation, but I think it's going to be even greater.
I was going to say, I think if you have a local channel pop up on Netflix, I think the viewership would skyrocket there.
Yeah, but the content is king. Does anybody really want to watch local news when they can scroll on TikTok and watch 15-second fun stuff,
I mean, even the Olympics, dude. I mean,
the Olympics have done really well. Live sports, I always tell my friends who want to advertise, go around the live sports, because I don't really want to watch a football game on a small screen.
Yeah.
I want to watch it. I want to watch the whole thing.
But even they're doing well, but even those, like, how many people are just like, oh, it's okay if I miss it. Like, I'm just gonna
see the highlights a lot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But before that, we didn't have that option.
No, that's all you could see it from.
So 42 years old, you started in TV at 19.
Yeah.
Had a very successful career. You just get up and just say, hey, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Why insurance?
That's a big question everybody's asked. For me, I love working at Bank First. Just want to say that's where I work. Bank First Insurance, one of the largest independent agencies in the state, 80th in the United States. That's how large it is. We're a whole. So we have Bank First, the bank. We are actually a different company, still owned by the bank.
Okay.
But we operate as a separate entity. So the cool thing for me, and this has just been really, truly rewarding, is to be able to meet with business owners and finding solutions for them. That's exciting to me. Or being there to help them. I found really great passion in that. So when I get to meet with a business owner, I'm really excited. That's like invigorating. I just was not invigorated more at the television station. So I found a whole new lease on life. And it's been just incredibly rewarding, but there's always in insurance, there's always that challenge. Well, okay, I've been able to work with this person, but now I've got to find the next person. You know that in real estate?
Yeah. 100%.
Always funneling in the new prospects. That's probably the most challenging.
Yeah.
But
do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy
it,
but it does come with stress.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I'm trying to prove myself there and trying to do, I'm surrounded by incredibly wonderfully successful insurance agents that are so smart, but yet have been very helpful. My boss, I've had 20 million questions for him. He's like, whatever, he's just there and incredibly kind about it, telling me along the way. But if you're out there and a business owner, rates are going up because of the region we live in. Property is going up significantly, but we are such a big agency that we have a lot of avenues to help alleviate some of those costs. So if you're out there, I would love to chat. So I had to throw in that plug.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, you're good. So let me ask you this: how much do you think that your personal brand, because even outside of social media that you had. I mean, you were in TV for 20 years.
Yeah.
So how much of that do you think has helped you, even though you threw like a curveball and you're like, I'm doing insurance now? How much of that do you think has helped you?
A tremendous amount. However, what I find amazing is I'll send an email to someone I've known and they will ghost me. And it's like, man, I'd rather just get a leave me alone versus just not even respond.
Wait, seriously?
Oh yeah. I could show you my email.
Really?
My son calls me Mailer Damien because you know that response you get when it's like rejected. It's like Mailer Damien. You know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if it goes to an unknown account, it's
Yeah.
like Mailer Damien says it's been blocked or whatever, and that's what my son nicknamed me, Mailer Damien, because nobody will respond.
Man, have you tried calling these people?
I haven't got to that point yet, but that's next on my list.
I was gonna say, I feel like that would be definitely. And where I was going with that is,
Sure.
I mean, you've been on Steven's podcast, and it's funny how Steven and I got connected. He actually came to one of the social media classes that I was teaching for agents.
Oh, nice.
And at the time, he had like 400 followers on his Instagram, and he was like, "Man, I'm really good at YouTube, but I just can't get this like Instagram, like this whole thing figured out."
Yeah.
And then so I started looking at his analytics, and then it was like his burger videos would just get like 20, 30,000 people watching. And then he would still try to sprinkle real estate stuff.
Yeah.
And those would get like 300, 200 views. And then I said, dude, we can clearly see what's working.
Yeah, right.
Just do that.
do that.
And he's like, I don't want to be the burger guy though. He's like, I want to be a real estate agent. And I said, dude, if people fall in love with you for whatever that is, you're going to be able to sell them whatever you want.
Agreed.
Like, it was one thing I always tell people, do you know The Rock?
Yeah.
What do you know what,
You know,
what
you
his
smell what he's cooking? Yeah.
do you know what his number one source of income is?
No, what is
Is
it?
a tequila he has.
Wow.
And it's like, I didn't even know he had a tequila. But it's like, this guy has such a huge personal brand that he can sell whatever he wants because people just like the name.
Sure.
And then so I just wanted to touch on that because I don't think people have understood that, and it's 2024.
Totally agree.
And it's just going to keep, like, every person I meet for the first time, like at an event, I like, first thing I do is try to look them up and see like what else can I do?
Yeah.
Can I learn from this person? And it's like, and at that point, if you try to look somebody up and there's nothing there, they're a lot more forgettable than somebody else that might have. It's pretty much a resume out there.
Yeah, and that was the reason I kept up the weather. I didn't know it was going to take off as much as it did. Like wonderful sponsors. I want to give Half Moon a shout out, HCS Roofing, and the Forest Ridge community. I've got to give them all. They've truly supported me. Cobblestone Homes, True North Homes, and Abbey Homes, they have really big integral part in doing this on my own. So there have been wonderful companies to support me. But I've originally went out on that and to keep my name out there. So that way the insurance world, I could get into these businesses. I know Mike. I follow him on, I've seen him on Facebook. Hey, come on, let's meet, So you're right. That's exactly the idea is go off of what you're good at and the rest will kind of follow in.
Yeah, I mean, even in today's world, I would like to see, like, honestly, a side to side of like another 42-year-old guy that was doing something completely different that goes into insurance, and then see like the results of that. Because I mean, to me, it's obvious, but I think it's obvious to people, but I just don't think they want to admit that. Because you don't have to be on TV now at 19 years old. You can really pick up your phone.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. The reality is, yes, it has been very fruitful to be the weather guy going into insurance for the first 3 months. So
there we go. What has been some big changes that have happened with your family after you left?
So I think you're talking about counseling yesterday. I went to that. The big thing is I've always been so used to being away and working. So now I have to, God has given me the ability to be home with them. Now I got to be more present.
Yeah.
Because my mind is so used to working all the time. I would work 24 hours a day, it seemed like, sleep somewhere in there. So I'm working on being more present with them. God's given me this gift of being there with them. Now, come on, Mike, don't abuse this and don't be thinking about work the whole time.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that right now. That's been one of the tougher transitions. I'm there with them, but am I really present? Because I'm thinking, well, I got to prospect, I got to get new clients in, I've got to set healthy boundaries and make sure I'm there with them, because this is such a, integral age that they're all in, and be present for them. So that I'm working. Plus, long story short, I mean, I was gone most of the time. Only used to get to see them like 15 minutes a day. So because I saw them in the morning before they went to school, and then I'd be gone, when they were home from school, and then I was not home till 11, so they were already in bed. So I only really ever got to see them 15. So I've got to make them the most of what I've been given.
But isn't it crazy that in those 15 minutes, like you probably were more present in those 15 minutes than like now what you're realizing that
Agreed.
you're there for hours, and
Agreed.
you're like,
yeah.
And it's crazy though, because people take like consistency for granted, right?
Yeah.
So like back then you're like, man, I wish I could at least have 3 hours with my kids a day. But but when that happens every day,
Yeah.
then you're just like, oh, cool. Like I can, and I'm so glad you're being transparent, because that's another thing that people look. I mean, I remember watching your whole exit with Channel 2, and it's like, hey, you want to spend more time with your family, and it's like, wow, what a saint. Like, but it's like, but people, and then somebody might be watching that and be like, man, I feel horrible because I'm with my kids all the time, and I don't make the most of it. But it's like, you're struggling with the same thing. And that's so funny that you say that, because that is why one of the biggest reasons of why I was so scared to have our first child is because I grew up without a dad, never met my dad. So of course he wasn't present.
Sure.
So I was afraid that if I had a kid that I wouldn't be present in their life. And I'm not saying I would ever leave my kid, but
I get it.
But it's like,
I get it.
it's so easy to not be present, especially we're talking about social media, because we're so addicted to our phones.
Yep, totally agree.
Man, well, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, dude. I really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I got to know you a lot better, and I like you even more.
Well, thank you.
So,
thank you, Will.
Anything else that you want to share?
No, I just think what you're doing is awesome. Keep rocking it. Because I've followed you I feel like I'm one of the beginning followers. So just to see where you are now,
Thank you, man.
and where you had the potential to keep going, just keep grinding, and the good things will follow.
Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for coming on.
Likewise.